Hi, everybody, and welcome to the federal fiscal year New Year's Eve final series of our planned town hall sequence. We are very delighted you're able to join us today. We do not have more of these town halls scheduled. We will schedule them as needed. We know that there's continuing to be more information changing every day, and I should probably back up and introduce myself. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Shannon Yearwood, the Education Manager here at the Department of Education, and I oversee the child nutrition programs. Our Division Director, John Frassinelli, our fearless leader, is unable to join us today, but he sends his regards and much appreciation for all of the work that you're doing. So I also have the pleasure of having part of my team here today to join us for the town hall, and I'll let them introduce themselves as we get into their section. But I just wanted to start with a few general remarks, and one of those is really from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for everything that you're doing. You make a huge difference every day, and I hope you realize that. For those of you who are participating in the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program, you received an announcement letting you know what your award is. We are scheduling the training for October 8th, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So please be on the lookout for information on how to register for that. We do know that there is some movement in Congress around the continuing resolution that passed the House, and that is now in the Senate. The expectation from the Senate side is that it should pass today and potentially be signed by the president shortly thereafter. What that continuing resolution does is extends the authority for the USDA secretary to be able to continue issuing waiver flexibilities, which is what has allowed us to be able to offer you the opportunity to have some regulatory some flexibilities in the regulations of the programs that you are operating now. And hopefully we'll be able to see that continue. Now, keep in mind, that does not mean that automatically all of these flexibilities will continue beyond where their deadline is as of December 31st. So we still won't know when the continuing resolution passes if that will extend these automatically. We do need to have information will have to be issued from USDA, and as soon as we get that and we learn how it will apply in Connecticut, we will get that information out to you. We know that it's vital and critical information. So please know we are very much at our watching that and hoping for the best. Just a reminder that as it is the federal fiscal year, New Year's Eve today, that means that the start of the new federal fiscal year starts tomorrow. We have just as much going on as you guys do, and really wrapping up these federal fiscal years. With the flexibilities we've been able to implement, as you know, our child nutrition program's online application and claiming system was not set up to be able to really move very quickly with the flexibilities that we are able to allow you to do now. So we are still working with our provider to make sure that we can integrate that into the system. To that end, since these programs between the summer food service program, the seamless summer option, school breakfast program, and the national school lunch program, as you know, typically they are not allowed to operate all at the same time and during the school year. So we have to do a lot of manual manipulation on the back end of the system to be able to allow you to claim. So please remember, the team you see here before you today is the team that is processing through all of your information. Each and every one of you, we do our due diligence to make sure that you have the information you need. Please make sure you read it. Please do not expect to be able to submit your September claims tomorrow. That's not going to happen. So we will send you an alert when the system is up and ready. Please do not email our team asking about if that's ready. If you go into the site application, you see it's grayed out. That's because we are doing technical changes on the back end of the system to allow you to claim under these multiple programs and under programs that are typically not allowed to operate during this time of year. So please save yourself an email, save us an email. Know that we have a very small but mighty team, and we are working very hard to make sure that it will be as seamless and smooth for you as possible. So please know that there will be a little bit of a delay before you can enter those September claims. With that, as I mentioned, this is the last town hall, so start typing those questions in. Give us a chance to be able to read them and figure out exactly if we have that information or if that information is still pending from USDA. So as we've been doing in these last town halls, when we are not presenting, we will be on mute and we will be hiding ourselves from our cameras so that only the speaker is present. And then when we get back to the question and answer session, we'll all be back together. So with that, I hand it off to Terry.
Thank you, Shannon. And I have some good news. And I want to show you a website that's brand spanking new as of today. And it is the training website. Let's see. For child nutrition programs. And I want to see, can everybody see it?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. On this website, you'll see, and this was actually just put up like an hour ago by Susan Fiore. And we are going to be posting all of the trainings that we do via webinars on this website. And if you go to program guidance and you click on T, it will take you to all of the items that begin with the letter T. And then you would just click on trainings for child nutrition programs. And so right now, what we have on there is the application webinar that was done, Building Success, on August 27th. And you can find the PowerPoint handout, the transcript, and the Q&A. And if you click on this right here, it will take you right to the webinar itself. So if you weren't able to attend that webinar, you can certainly watch it. And also, you'll see the civil rights is listed on there. Meal pattern training for school nutrition programs, special diets trainings, and the verification webinar training is going to be going up this week. So you can check it out maybe by Friday, and hopefully it will all be there as well. And trainings for the fresh fruit and vegetable program and for CACFP are also, and the summer food service program are also posted here. So webinars are new to us, and so we're delighted that we're able to post them on our website. So if you're not able to attend, we always do encourage you to attend because I think it's a more meaningful process. But if you can't, or if one of your colleagues can't, you can certainly go on here and watch it. So one other thing that I want to mention, and I'm going to stop showing that, is that, let's see, and I want to make sure that I'm not showing the screen any longer, is that tomorrow is October 1st. It's a very important date because that's when you want to start your verification process. And I just want to remind all of you that it does begin tomorrow. You want to make sure that you pick your sample pool from the newly approved applications on file. And you don't want to delay in doing that because then it will mean that you have a chance of not getting the verification process completed by November 15th. And so you want to make sure that you go to our website. All of the forms are there under forms. You go to V and you'll see them all there. And we have the calendar, which explains what you need to do to conduct the verification process and the timeline. So please just make sure that you have that on your calendar and that tomorrow you do start your sample pool and randomly selecting those applications that need to be verified. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Susan and Fanula, who are going to be doing the next piece of the town hall. Thank you.
Hi, so today I'm just going to be the one I'll be talking about SSO and the SSO application. So just a reminder, if you are doing SSO, you should have submitted your fiscal year 19 or your school year 19-20 application that includes the SSO sites by September 25th. So that was Friday. If you haven't done it, please do it as soon as possible. We can't approve it until you've submitted to us. As part of this, like I mentioned last week on the town hall, what makes sites, a lot of sites eligible to participate in SSO is the area eligibility waiver. So if you have not submitted that application and you need that, you please do that again as soon as possible. Send it to the CNP permanent agreement email box. As part of our approving your application in the online system, we have to review that as well. So if one piece is missing, if you have your site application in and you need the area eligibility waiver and you don't have both, in, we won't be able to approve your application. So just tied to the area eligibility waiver, we would just want to remind you that today would be the last day to use the information in the census tracker. So if you're looking to make your site eligible for the future, and you thought maybe you would pull up to see if you were census tract eligible, today would be the last day to do that. As of tomorrow, October 1st, they update the tracker with new information, so you would not be able to use that to make your site eligible for this under these flexibilities. So please do that. If you have questions about that, you could reach out to your county consultant. If you're not interested in doing that, don't worry, the AE waiver will cover that, so just make sure that you submit that. We have a lot of questions of people asking if their school year 19 SSO application has been approved. You will know when it's approved. You will receive an email from the system that says that it's approved once we get to it. If it hasn't been approved yet, you can easily look into the online system to check that if you go into your school year 19-20 application. If it has been submitted for approval, it will have that button will be grayed out, and above it, it will say the application packet is currently unavailable and is being reviewed by the state. So if you're in that status, then you're good to go. If it doesn't say that and your application's button for submit for approval is bright red, then you haven't submitted to us. Again, we cannot approve it if it hasn't been submitted. If you're having trouble being able to submit it and you're not sure what's wrong with the application, and you've looked through the instructions that we sent when we asked you to update the application, then you can reach out, but we would ask you to really look to make sure that everything's done that we laid out in those step-by-step instructions before you would reach out with an issue to why you're unable to submit it. We are trying to process them as quickly as possible. As Shannon mentioned before, you will not be able to claim for September until that application is approved. So if you go in tomorrow and think, oh, I'm going to put in my claim, if your application isn't approved, you won't have that option. That month would be grayed out. So again, you don't need to email us. We know that that you need the application to be approved to do that, and we're working as quickly as possible. We do ask that if we're giving ourselves to October 15th, if your application has not been approved by then, and you're not quite sure what's going on, you can reach out to us at that point, and we'll see what's happening. Again, if all of your information is in place, it's going to make it a lot quicker for us to approve your agreement. So your sponsor applications are correct. You have your area eligibility waiver in. It's filled out properly. It's going to make it much more easy for us to approve it. Don't be concerned about the October claim or the September claim being in by the deadline, our claiming deadline. If we get to the point where we're unable to get everyone approved, quicker, we always have the option to extend that claiming deadline. And if we do that, we will let you know. So, we're not going to process claims when half of the sponsors aren't approved yet. So please don't be worried about that. Again, use the system to just check to make sure your application is in there, that it's complete, you've updated, and it's been submitted. And then we will work on approving it. If we do have to reach out to you with information that's still missing or that we need, please respond as quickly as you can. We know that you're busy too, but that will help expedite the process as well. So with that, I will turn it over to Fionnuala, who's going to talk a little bit about the following year.
Okay. Thanks, Susan. So Susan just led into that. We will be issuing guidance in the next few weeks about school year 2021 application packet and updating that. Specifically for those sponsors that have elected to participate in the seamless summer option, you'll need to add sites onto your 2021 school year to cover October, November, and at this point, December. And you may be unchecking months under the National School Lunch Program. So while you have submitted it by the deadline, we may be asking you to go back and we might be returning that application and we will be, if you're participating in the seamless summer option, and you'll be making some updates to that. So there'll be more news to come on that in the next few months. And as Susan mentioned, we are prioritizing and really looking at for the seamless summer option, those sponsors be able to get your 1920 school year application packet approved so you can claim September. And with that, we need to collect some information because USDA has issued guidance that allows the Seamless Summer option sponsors, also SFSP, to retroactively claim all of the meals served back to the start of the school year. And if sponsors are choosing to do that, all those retroactively meals are claimed under the Seamless Summer or SFSP, and any student who paid for those meals needs to receive a refund. So again, this is not the first time we mentioned this. We will be sending out an email in the next day or two that clearly outlines this guidance that came out from USDA under one of their Q&As in September that allows this to happen. So we are in the process, or we actually have a survey that we will be issuing to gather this information. I believe the survey will be going out, but it may be available at this during this town hall to complete as well. So you may not be prepared to answer this right now, but you will receive an email that we're going to need to gather that information, because sponsors that are choosing to retroactive and claim all of the meals under either SSO and SFSP, that's pretty straightforward. And your online system, we've instructed you to have the start date to the beginning of the school year. Sponsors that are choosing to not retroactively claim and actually claim meals under the National School Lunch Program and then meals under the Seamless Summer option or SFSP are going to be required to have an integrity plan. Certainly by claiming 1 month under 2 different programs, there's an opportunity for some error there, and the integrity program would, you need to have that on file, and it will need to outline how overclaiming is not going to occur. So again, that integrity plan would be if you are not choosing to retroactively claim all of your meals under either SSO or SFSP back to the start of the school year. You'll need to have that. And we're sending out more guidance on that, and we'll be able to direct you. I have spoke to a few food service directors, and I know that some operators say that it is an easy process to be able to pay students back for refund them for meals that they paid prior to the guidance from USDA regarding SSO. So it is a possibility, but certainly if it's not feasible and you're looking to claim those 2 different programs in September, one of the summer programs and the National School Lunch Program, you will need to have the integrity plan. So we're going to be gathering that information, and that survey is going to be required to be completed by all of those sponsors that have been elected and approved to participate in either the Seamless Summer option or the Summer Food Service Program. So I think enough on that. Susan, did you drop that? Do you have that in the chat box, or are we doing that survey now?
Yep, it's been dropped in the chat box, so they can copy the link and put it into their web browser, I believe, and answer it now. Like you said, if they're ready and they know what they're going to be doing, yeah, it's ready to go.
Okay, so what I've just spoke to, if you're ready to answer that, please go ahead and do that. We want to collect that information as soon as possible, because that's going to dictate how we move forward with some further guidance with those sponsors, again, that are not going to retroactively claim all the meals under the one of the summer programs. So one other item that I wanted to just mention is that we have been hearing from sponsors about low participation. So with sponsors that have elected to operate the Seamless Summer option particularly, low participation, not just for the remote learners, for also in-person learners. So we wanted to just give some suggestions and just some reminders. Obviously, communication is key. You know, free meals is a new concept for a lot of families, and one communication out to families and guardians is definitely not enough. So you need to make sure families are well aware of what's happening with these programs and that the free meals are available under these summer programs. And also that the communication is clear, not just a time and place where they can receive the meals for the remote learners, but very clearly, will they need to get out of their car, or is it curbside pickup? Do they need to order ahead? If they don't need to order ahead, to say that you may just show up. So really being specific with the process for remote learners to be able to access those free meals. In addition to that, you may need to change your plan. You know, initially thinking that daily pickup with the remote learners, either the 100% remote learners or the hybrid learners, was appropriate. But now, because your numbers are so low for participation, you may need to allow them to pick up multiple days to help with getting them out and feeding the kids. So communication, kind of look at your plan, make sure the communication is very detailed. And then also, you know, many of these families are concerned, obviously, with the pandemic and COVID, that ensuring or sending out some communication about the health and safety practices of your food service personnel may help ease worry and allow parents to encourage their students to access the free meals. So sometimes, you know, just a reminder of the safety and sanitation practices, you know, certainly masks, gloves, everything that you're following from the guidance of the Department of Public Health would be great communication to families. And this all, you know, will help kids access these free meals and be well nourished to learn. So in addition to just communicating, photos, you know, speak 1,000 words, right? So taking photos of your workers on the line, photos of the food that you're serving. Parents should clearly know what they're picking up. You know, if they're coming out to pick up meals for remote learners, it'd be great to, you know, am I going to come out for, what am I going to come out for? Do I know what's in the bag or in the box? So I know many of you are doing this, and I'm just kind of throwing that out there for maybe some of you that haven't thought about this. And certainly working with your peers and communicating and working with your association to share ideas to help increase participation in this crazy time that we have never experienced before. And again, this is all in an effort to feed kids and make sure they're getting well-nourished meals. And that's it on communication. I'm going to pass things over to Caroline and Therese to speak about the summer food service program. Or Therese, sorry.
That's fine. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to kind of bring you back to the same process that's going to take place, but in terms of the summer food service program. So as Susan explained briefly, the application process for SSO, the application process for the summer food service program is slightly different. Caroline and I have been working to make new sites available in the online agreement and to make the sites that you might have previously used available for you to update. So while our communication will be directed at the individual who will be updating the application once they're ready for the district to be updating the information, or once the sponsor application is ready for the sponsor to go in and update the site information. So basically the information that you'll be updating for the 2019-2020 online agreement is for September, or is for September only, up until September 30th. You'll update the site application pertaining to the approved application that you already submitted, and you'll also need to go through each cell of the site application and make sure the information you're providing for the application currently reflects your service for September. So some of the previous notes you might have had in there regarding to summer service might have changed, or regarding to previous COVID feeding might still be in play, but it would be extended into September. So you would have to look at each area of the site application and update that appropriately. You would also need to make sure you complete the appropriate, in the site application, there's like a general information regarding meals of service and the operating days. For our application, you want to be sure that you are only updating the last day of service up until September 30th and updating those corresponding operating days for that field. From there, you'll also, if it's a site that previously operated or a new site, you're going to choose what meals you're serving. So majority of our sponsors do breakfast and lunch, and then they'll be completing the same information for September regarding, extending the last day of service to September 30th and updating the number of operating days in the month that correspond with September. And also, one area that I think is important to remember is looking at, the times of meal service, because definitely under COVID feeding and summer feeding, it was different than what you might be doing in September. You want to be sure to also look at the type of site you're having. So you want the site type, either open or closed, would be based on a number of circumstances. The majority of our sites, if you're using area eligibility waiver, you are opting in to provide meals that are accessible to the community. That means you're opting in to provide meals to any child under the age of 18. So you want to be sure that they have access to an open site and that the open site is accessible to the community. For that reason, the majority of your sites will tend to be open sites. In rare circumstances, we'll consider consider the use of closed sites. The only circumstances that closed sites would be used is due to concerns due to space, security, safety, or control. And again, that information on the site application might have changed through summer service. Now you have the availability to have more flexibility regarding the area eligibility waiver. So a site that you might have had in a previous summer operated differently than it would now this summer or under September. So if it's a site that hasn't been used in a while, that's another thing to just be sure that you read through the site application completely and that you make sure you address all the cells that would pertain to updating the information. Another thing I wanted you to consider looking at is mainly the instructions that we'll send. Our instructions are slightly different than the seamless summer option. And so it's important that when you're updating the site that you go back to the email that will correspond to when your site applications are available for the update. I'm trying to think, Caroline, if I forgot anything, by all means jump in. But I think that's the majority of what we wanted to let you know. Do not be concerned if you don't hear from us immediately. Like I said in the beginning, we're working as quickly as we can to update the sites to make them available for the sponsors to go in and begin the process of updating the site applications. There's a number of new sites that are being added to various sponsors, and we're trying to work through them as quick as possible. The same with the seamless summer option. If you don't hear from us immediately, just be patient and give us a little bit of time. We know that everyone urgently wants to submit their claim, and we're working as quickly as possible to make that possible for you. But as you know, if you haven't heard from us already, you will not be able to submit your claim tomorrow. So again, just keep that in mind. We're working quickly to allow you access and to move quickly to approve applications, but it's a little bit of a time-consuming process. And by all means, Caroline, if you have anything you wanted to add.
That was all great. The only thing I wanted to say was we have been recently getting inquiries about adding additional sites. So sites in the community or daycare sites or things like that. So one of the things that we want to make sure that you're doing is really thinking through what the impacts of that would be on how you're currently distributing meals, what mechanisms you're going to put in place to ensure that families are not over accessing meals, getting more meals than the children are entitled to on a daily basis. And also at this point, we really want to make sure you're thinking through what the impact is on the community, on the families that are participating when sites are shifting that dynamically. So additional sites, closing sites, moving sites, opening sites at daycare providers that don't normally participate in either NSLP or CACFP during the school year, because this is a very short period of time that we're currently approved for. Certainly there is some movement, as Shannon said at the beginning of the call, that there's a possibility that USDA might be exercising additional flexibilities, but we certainly have no guarantee of that. So just be thinking through whether these changes make sense. Understand that definitely if you have partners that are walking through this process with you, making suggestions about where services should be provided, that you're also providing them with education about the program so that they understand why decisions get made a certain way, why certain things are allowable, and frankly, why certain things are really encouraged versus why other things we might be asking you to kind of think through a little bit more in depth and just explore what those impacts might be on the families you're serving.
One other final note that I mentioned is that we'll be doing the process again for the October through December online application or online agreement. So once we update everything for September, you'll receive instructions regarding updating again for the 2020-2021 year. Another aspect is there are certain circumstances where we will also need an integrity plan so that we have an explanation of assurances that duplication of meals you're considering thinking through your process so that the duplication of access to duplicate meals, we have documentation of how you thought that process out. So by all means, do not feel discouraged if we request an integrity plan. It's part of a documentation that we need to have on file. We'll generally give you information on what area we need you to focus on. I know I spoke to a number of sponsors already regarding integrity plans, and they basically vary based on what type of site you have or what we need more information about. So I just wanted to also give you a heads up that will be coming forward as well as we work through the applications. On that note, I'm trying to think. We are going to move forward to questions and answers, I believe.
Yep, thanks, Therese. That's exactly why I just magically reappeared on your screen. So thank you so much to my team. Truly, they are working so hard. Prior to my being at this organization, at this agency, I was with a different organization, had the opportunity to work with a lot of the folks who are presenting here today. And nationally, our State Department of Education has a tremendous reputation for working very closely with people to creating as much access to maintaining program integrity. And that's truly from the folks you see here today. So when you get a chance, please thank them as well. They're definitely working very hard to make sure that you are as successful as possible. So we're going to, there are two updates that I neglected to give you. So if any of you missed previous town halls and or just want to really watch us again, certainly you can access that through our professional support series and our Department of Education YouTube. So if you know anybody who needs to have the transcript available as well, that will be available through that professional support series, which you can navigate to from our homepage on the Department of Education's website. I also neglected to mention that we do have a dedicated child nutrition reopening page for you that we're really trying to consolidate that information. We've heard from you about what would be helpful and how it would be helpful to find information. And so we've been as responsive as we can to that. So certainly keep letting us know. We want to make sure that that is as user-friendly as possible, that you can find the information you're looking for in a very quick and easy way. So we love your ideas, share them with us, and we will take those under very strong consideration. So if you haven't bookmarked that page, if you haven't bookmarked our program guidance page, do that now too. We won't mind if you do a little bit of work while you listen here. So we are also going to dive right into these questions since we have a few coming in. So please enter them now. I'll take the first question, which is in regard to the after-school snack program. Unfortunately, we don't have any additional information to share at this time. USDA did indicate a couple of weeks ago that there is another Q&A that is in the process of clearance, and that it should contain some information around the after-school snack program and what to do if you are choosing to serve children under the summer food service program or the seamless summer option this year. Of course, it's still allowable for those of you who are approved for your after-school snack program service and are choosing to use the school breakfast and national school lunch program routes. So that part didn't change, but we're trying to find out if we can allow you to serve those after-school snack program snacks and still be able to claim those if you're choosing those summer options. As soon as we know, we will share that information. So the next one, I believe, is Susan Alstead.
Okay, so the question is with regards to the claiming survey. So somebody opened it, that's great. We're happy to see. This is the first time we've done something like this. So we're pretty proud that we were able to do it so quickly and get it up there. So, you know, please let us know if you find that there's issues or something isn't working properly. But the question is with regards to the claiming survey, we started the school year after we got approved for SSO, so we don't have a need to do retroactive claims. Do we need to still fill out the survey? I don't see an option for having a need to retroactively claim meals on the survey. So that is a good question, something that we didn't quite think of when we gave the two options. But ultimately, you're claiming all of your meals SSO under SSO. So that's the choice that you're going to want to select. Okay, so some schools, right, they may not have gotten their application in on time or not even on time, but before they started serving. So that's giving them that option. But ultimately, if you're claiming all your meals SSO, even if you don't have to do anything retro, select that option. We're really trying to pinpoint who is doing NSLP and SSO for September so that we can help them update their application. So the answer to your question is check the first option, claiming all meals SSO.
And then check that off your to-do list because you got that done. All right, looks like our next question is going over to Fanula.
Okay, the question is, will the SSO site data that we entered for 1920 transfer over to the SSO sites for 2021 so we don't need to re-enter it? And unfortunately, the answer to that is no, because that's not how the system works. And based on USDA's guidance and the way things were issued, when the 2021 application packet opened up, which everyone has their application packet open, it rolled over the data at that point. So we're now entering data in for 1920, so it's going to need to be entered in manually for 2021 when we send out those instructions in the next week or two for those seamless sites. We're going to need to get entered in there so you can claim October, November, and December at this point. So you'll need to enter it again, unfortunately.
We did try very hard to figure out a way to make that not be the case, but there's no way. We're not the only state in this boat, so unfortunately we will need you to re-enter that. So Caroline, do you want to take the thank you? You signed yourself up for answering that one. But by look on your face, I'm thinking you just want to reiterate that thank you. So certainly jump in if you need to. Otherwise, don't assign yourself those questions. So we have another question regarding food service management companies. And so we are, so the question is, are on-site review forms and FSMC monitoring forms required this school year as usual? So we will need to get back to you very specifically on that question. We're going to need to confer with Andy Paul, who's our food service management company contact. And so, but what I can tell you is that there has been no indication from USDA that those would be waived for this year. There are portions of monitoring that can be done off-site virtually. So let's circle back with that one, and we will certainly provide additional information. We're also working on setting up the food service management company training. So keep your eyes out for a date and time for that, which will be happening over the next hopefully a couple weeks or a month, depending on when that happens. So that wasn't a great answer, but it's the truth. All right, so it looks like we don't have any more questions, so we'll give this a few more minutes in case you have any pending questions. I know we have traditionally gone a little bit over time. If we don't get any additional questions, then we might actually make this a little bit shorter. So this is your opportunity. We'll keep this open for a few minutes while we look at each other. So the other thing, and I'm just to let everybody know, well, we have a couple other questions that are coming in. USDA has indicated that there are a few different guidance documents and questions and answers in clearance right now. So we are really hopeful to be able to continue to provide additional information. So we are also working on another Q&A document that is going to be very comprehensive. If USDA issues that guidance and Q&A prior to us completing and sending out that document, then it will probably delay our document so that we can make it as comprehensive as possible, just so that you guys know we are working on that. So our next question was where the claiming survey is located. So if you go into the chat box, you can see I incorrectly sent it out to just us first, but I believe I successfully actually shared it with you after that. So certainly check the chat box. If you don't see it, that's okay, because we are going to send out a separate email that will include that link to the survey. It is probably historically the shortest survey that has ever been issued by our department, so definitely one that you can answer pretty quickly as long as you know which direction you're going to go with claims. So, and I can't reemphasize enough that if you do decide to choose to operate meals under seamless summer option or summer food service program, and you do retroactively claim to the beginning of the school year, you must refund every child, every student, every household that you collected money from for kids who either pay in full or who pay a reduced rate. So please keep that in mind. We know that can be tricky for some folks, and those are the folks out there who very likely will have split claims. So that's why it's so important that we get that information as soon as possible, because that will impact your ability to be able to claim, and it will also impact our ability to get it ready, to get that system ready for you sooner than later. So, and we will certainly we may use this survey format again in a couple of weeks to see if you are ready for another town hall. But as I mentioned at the beginning of this, and you can see how excited my team was when I just said that, but at the beginning of this, I did mention, and just reiterating, this is our last scheduled town hall. So we wanted to finish the federal fiscal year on a good note and make sure that we had some good communication with you. We really appreciate all you're doing. And it looks like we have concluded with the questions. So I think today we'll start a new trend for our last town hall here, and we will end a little bit early. So thank you all, and welcome back to 15 more minutes in your day.